Okay, copy link to share, stop lagging. And there we go. We working? Hoping eventually Ed comes in so he can start telling me things. Uh, you know what? Let's face it over here, make it easier. Nice. Oh, there we go. There we go. We working now? Is Ed in the chat? I'm not sure. To open the marker. This marker forever plagues us. It is the same one every time. I need to move this back. There. So, where do we stop? Varix, right? Yeah, Varix. Ooh, yeah, this one's really nice. Can you read that? You can read that. Nope. No, you can't. Can you read it on the stream is the problem.
Not really, but
Yeah, because it's backwards, right?
no, it's just a little bit blurry.
Oh, okay. On my view, it's backwards.
Probably upload quality or
Yeah, that's fine. It's a
okay.
base. It's the default laptop camera. Yeah. Varix. He writes. Varix was the Fire Genasi gunslinger that we I'm still getting cut off. Here we are. He was the Fire Genasi gunslinger. Flaming hair, goggles. He had the revolver. Not entirely important. The revolver was ethereal, so it was always smoking. Childhood friend Anya. That part is important. Grew up with Anya. They had grown up together. Their families knew each other. As part of Enya's backstory, her sister had died through abuse from family, so Enya had killed everyone except for Varix, who was the last one needed to complete that whole thing, which, if I remember correctly, was the first favor that Jolt had asked in exchange for power. He was also pushed off a cliff by Enya right before she had faked her death, which was about 30 or 40 years prior to the entire party meeting him. So they are both quite old. He knows a lot of stuff that he should not know. Most notably, he knows about Solori's past. Part of that being he has Solori's mother's locket. Okay, you did take it back. Gotcha. So, new Solori's new past. He was also. It looked like he was right hand for Ryder. He was in part of the big thing for the collecting the vessels, specifically getting Ymir. That was his whole thing, because he had found the party, summoning Marissa, whole world, and yada yada. We all get the spiel. So yeah, that was the big three. Unfortunately, this half only had Varix. The previous one had the other two. But I mean, that's why we're saving these. Keep it as one playlist. Yeah, let's go through the other miscellaneous NPCs. All right, let's go through the other NPCs. We had already gone through Sophia's party. We had talked a bit about Elaine already. No family Kalistar. Family Sigil, hadn't talked about that before, was it was like a cross of a sword and a pickaxe. Father Zelisios. Magic is said to be from another world, but that's never really brought up again. Uh, Jay. We didn't talk about Jay very much. He is a human, blonde hair, blue eyes, white armor with gold trim. He has a cape. He was the leader of Elaine's guard. Leader of guard. Yeah, this marker's a lot better than the other ones. He was a leader of Elaine's guard. Uh, I wrote it down in these notes. I'm not going to write it down up here. I thought it was funny. When we're in Nevermore, and you can hear him crying in his room. Yay, Schadenfreude. He also receives Aelith's spear from Solori. Aelith's Aelith's spear, which was the big javelin thing that would summon bolts of lightning, and that essentially became his main weapon, as far as we know. And he uses it to reunite with the party in the valley. We had talked about Severin, Zaphire's. We had done a little bit about the Zaphire's. They had worked on Aegis. They gave him his voice. There were brother sister duo, the brother Dante. He's the only one we have a name for. Very steampunk style. Yada yada. Yama, he was very nice. I guess I'll write down Yama. There was Yama. Let's go ahead and there we go. Yama, he ran. I think it was called a Yama's Eats in Shadebrook. I don't know, but he also had Yama's Sushi. Like he had at least, yeah, but like he also had Yama's Sushi, so there were at least two companies there that he owned. His daughter was Melissa, who was kidnapped, and the party saved her. Yama, nice guy, wife beater, almost sold human flesh. Aelith. Aelith is a good one to have. I'll be writing this name down twice because good storytellers don't make mistakes. So if there's one name, it should be the same person. I'm looking at you, Ed, who's not in the chat. No one's watching. Aelith was the brain in the jar that ran the construct that was in Nevermore. She used to be a Goliath, but some nebulous accident occurred that turned her into brain in a jar. Brain in jar. Hooray. Major physical trauma. Cordovas, don't really need to write him down. He was just the Leonin tinkerer that was in Nevermore, right? Yeah, it was in Nevermore. He attached the blaster to Aegis's arm. He had met Severin before, and he gave Rob the sword axe.
And it was said that he was the one who built Aelith.
Yeah, he was the one that built Aelith's body. An important one that we should probably write down is Xenon Yator. He was the king of Darth. Oh, is the king of Darth. He donated a bunch of books to the library in Korth. Why is yeah? Can you text Ed? Tell him that we're back online. Yeah, I did send the link, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay, just making sure. Yeah, he was the king of Darth. He had also been kidnapped by Ryder and Co. Uh, Not much to say. He's powerful. He's important, but all in all, he's just kind of an old man. Not really much to say on him. Uh, Dreadweaver. We did get a lot of stuff on Dreadweaver. Let's just go ahead. DW, Dreadweaver. He was the champion of Kalara. I'm not sure if he was the one right before Rob was, but he was a previous one before Rob was. He was Elvin. Let's just go ahead and write champion of Kalara. Kalara champ. Yeah, that's Dreadweaver. He had the rune of House Algos on his cloak. Not sure if that's his house or like a noble family that was sponsoring him, but he had their rune on his cloak. We found him in the temple grieving over someone that seemed to have been very important to him within the Kalara section of the temple. He was in this whole trance, but A just came up and like tapped him on the shoulder, and he was broken free and answered a bunch of questions. He also fought alongside the Element Master, who was all trans champion at the same time that he was Kalara's, and fought against Kalara's brother. We do not know who that is. But of the six, I guess maybe Boltrus, because war, but we don't know. And he also gave some strange shard to Venora, who then ditched it as soon as she got Bushido, and Rob grabbed it, and nothing really came of that. Maybe that was no, it wasn't. He was already champion by the time he grabbed us, so I don't know what that did. Damien, Louse's mentor. We saw him for like 1-2 sessions, so I don't really need to write that down. He was his mentor. He had a bunch of Lycan refugees. They all died. The end. Hmm? It was pretty up in the air. But like presumed dead. What else we got on here? A bunch of stuff there. Miscellaneous lore bits, locations. That seems like the majority of it. Yeah, most of the other stuff is just basic locations of here's a town that was mentioned, so there's 2 lines of info. Not very much to say. The only things that I have left are like characters, like us, of like here's what I had pieced together about each person and like the best I could think of for their backstory. But hmm?
You mentioned Desmond?
Not really. I didn't really mention Desmond, but that was just because most of what I had thought of for Desmond had been debunked. Like he was the alchemist in Shadebrook and later in Wailing. He's very sleep deprived, a workaholic. And the main thing that I had done about this guy is that he is not what he seems. He knows at least 3 generations of Satyr, so we don't know how old he is, and he was possibly divine. But that was debunked because Ed said flat out, he is not divine. What happened in the chat? Ed, tell me what I missed. Oh, you didn't miss much. It was just going over what Barracks was and a bunch of the like minor characters. Bunch of locations. Yeah, the majority of what I had done this for was for the Pantheon and the main 3 NPCs. So all I really got here is player origins. But we'd essentially gotten what all of those are. Well, we'd gotten Ennia's, right?
We know Ennia's, know everything. We know sororities. That
Yeah,
all.
we know sororities. I guess I can go over it just to like run it by you. Yeah, I guess I can go over them.
But we don't know a lot about Rob.
Yeah, that's the main reason why I'm deciding whether or not to do it. Just because
We don't know about Rob. We know Kozui. know a lot of. I feel like Robin Mouse is who we don't know. We know the least about, but the other four we pretty much know.
Yeah, but like I feel like I had pieced together enough of Rob's backstory to at least get like a basis. Like there isn't very much in between escaping the Colosseum and joining with the party. But like the Colosseum days I gotten a little bit of. But like overall there's just not very much to talk about at this point. Like I had essentially gone over everything I'd wanted to go over. My yeah, my anything you want to bring up?
No, you got all.
Okay. Well, I guess since you're here, I'll at least go over what I think for Solori's backstory.
Sure.
So here's what we had gotten. Come on, open. So here's what I had written down for character stuff before I try and make a timeline. Afraid of spiders, easily angered by false gods, and he included. Aware of the absence of gods since before the Holy Scriptures were written. He was wrong. The scriptures were wrong about Yamir's whereabouts, so thinking maybe it was the same for the other gods. Hometown was in the Underdark. Massive stalactite with a dwarf's face, home of local nobility. Had a childhood friend named Isle. Isle's dad was an adventurer. Hometown destroyed by massive tentacles breaching from the surface. Solori thought himself to be a cripple amongst drow, but that just meant he was more suitable for life on the surface. Uh, he was told that his title of Solori, Servant of the God of Light Tenron, was wrong. That was, yeah, there's a little bit of confusion there that was cleared up with a vision, as was Blessed of the Sun. He wandered for a long time without a home, yada yada. Given power by Tenron as a child, he came to the conclusion that the sun was good. Studied in Valen, left 20 to 30 years ago. So, here's what I think for a Solori timeline. Solori. Start at the beginning. Born in Prelis. Born in Prelis. Had his parents. His mother had a lockout of when he of his family when he was young. Childhood friend named Isle. Just went over this. Lived in there. Prelis, and then Prelis was destroyed by Ordon, creating Solori's fear of spiders. He had to leave because he was one of the few survivors. He wandered around on the surface for a while, homeless, until he had been brought in Valen. He had found his way to Valen and was taken in by the Church of Tenron. He very quickly found that he had an affinity for magic. All of the headmasters and people, like the powerful people that were in the church, found out that he was a prodigy, but didn't really tell him. He ended up being one of the most devout followers, and subsequently started exploring the world. At which point he left. He left Valen about 20 to 30 years before the campaign starts, at which point he finds his way to a caravan in Shadebrook.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
No, he did spend a while basically being a street urchin in the Underdark. Don't know any details about that, but
Okay.
it was well before he got to the surface.
Okay, so we didn't immediately go to the surface. He was in the Underdark for a
And
while.
the way I had it written, he was exiled for some reason, like the drought cancer.
Fair, he was a cripple. So yeah, that's essentially what I got for Solori.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess I can go over the other people just to cover our bases. I guess the next one I can go over just the next one on the list, so I can go over Enya next. Enya. No, not actually in Korth at the beginning. Surprisingly enough, that was not where her story started. Story started with her sister. I believe younger sister, but sister nonetheless. Not really said as to where they were for the beginning of their lives, but they had stayed together for a while until they were kidnapped. Kidnapped, I guess, but like they were forcefully taken in by their family that was in Korth. At which point they were abused and beaten until the point where sister died. Yeah, very quick. We'll cross out. There we go. Uh, sister died. That leaves Enya full of rage. At which point Enya was contacted by Jolt. That is terrible handwriting, but I'm also trying to do it like this. Contacted by Jolt. Sensed her anger. Sensed her pain. Said, I can give you power to relieve this pain. You've got to do some stuff for me. And I'm not sure whether it was because Jolt asked her to or because she wanted to now that she had power, burned down and killed her family. There we go. There's two of them crossed out now. Burned down and killed her family and Varric's family, but Varric's was the only survivor and thus created a lifelong friend turned enemy. Uh, After that, wandered around for a while, I suppose. Joined the scavenger. That is terrible. It looks like chicken scratch, but that's a scav. Joined the scavengers. Fought against Varric's and the Ravengers for a while. There was a boss that she didn't like very much, so she killed him and then blamed it on the Ravengers. At which point, a civil war between the Ravengers and Scavengers started. She didn't like being caught up in that conflict, so Enya faked her death. This was 40 to 50 ish years before the start of the campaign. Faked her death in a skiff explosion, fled Korth, wandered around for a while, at some point found the mushrooms that make you trip balls. That's where her obsession with mushrooms began. Uh, and eventually found her way, as with everyone, onto a caravan in Shadebrook, where she was not contacted by her patron until Louse showed up. Yep. This next bit, this next one will be fun for Ed because there is no one to tell me if I'm right or not because Ed was the one who created Aegis' backstory. Aegis / robot, because that's what he was called for the first 12-ish sessions.
No, first he was called Big Man. We just started calling him Robot.
Now, I called him Big Man in my notes. You all were calling him Robot for the whole thing. So from what I can tell, for him, it started with Aaron, Severin's son. Not really given a location or time period or anything like that for Aaron's life, but we do know that it was short. Aaron was playing by a river, I suppose, fell in. Severin came over very worried, and he was dead. At which point, Severin took Aaron's soul, I suppose, and put it into. That's wrong. and put it into his latest project that was a commission from a man in Paradise that owned a coliseum. That being C-137. Thus was the designation for a robot that would be given sentience. He was supposed to be a bridge between the cold hard machines that Severin had been making for decades and the normal fleshy people that he was supposed to be getting along with. Uh, After he was C-137, he somehow escaped from wherever Severin was. Maybe he was already kidnapped at that point, not entirely sure, but regardless, he had gone out into the wilderness, and not much is known in between then and campaign because he had lost his memories. All kind of a blur, except for 18 months prior, where he had woken up in the woods again and just started wandering around until he came across a caravan, hopped on it. Rest is history. That's basically all I got for Aegis. Yeah, his was very simple. He was a death machine that had a child's soul in it. So even though he was massive, he still had the mental capacity of a child, which explains the wisdom now that I think about it. He had the intelligence from being a robot, but he had the wisdom of a child. Uh, I guess I can get into Laos. I'm not going to go down to there because I never use the bottom. Laos started out as a child in some place. This was probably said at some point. I did not write it down. So I'm just thinking about what was said in passing like a month ago. But whatever happened in here, don't really remember. Not entirely important. I think his parents died at some point, so he was an orphan. And then he was turned and taken in by the Order, at which point he was trained under two mentors, Damien and Bryce. Damien we had met, Bryce was mentioned in passing. He learned how to be a Lycan, tracked down a bunch of evil stuff, basic secret society shit. Until Laos did noops. And he, I guess, went rabid, but it's not really stated. But Laos turned someone into a Lycan when he wasn't supposed to. That's a big no-no in the Order. So he got kicked out. Laos was kicked out of the Order, at which point he kind of wandered around, kind of up in the air, but it doesn't seem very important because it was never really mentioned until the Starlight Festival happened, where he heard about that, showed up there, and got a job from Jay and found a bunch of people that would also be interested in that, and the rest is history. Oh, and also at some point he started having dreams about a young girl surrounded by dead bodies. Yeah, which apparently a lot of Lycans have, specifically the ones who are a lot more powerful and more likely to discover the origin of Lycan phenomena. But like abilities, rights, and stuff. And in a way, he did do that. He just lost his memories in the process. He did. At least two identity wipes. Maybe three. Not sure if his parents died. Let's go over Lenora slash Kozui. Now, She started in an orphanage. Not really stated what happened before then, but considering that she was in an orphanage, it's pretty easy to guess. Uh, Second worst thing to happen to orphans. The first being, becoming an orphan. Uh, in an orphanage where she met Ryder, the young elven boy with blue hair and yellow eyes, who was kind of an asshole and kept starting fights that he couldn't win. So she kept coming in to save him. And there's two people in there. Are you one of them? Oh, okay. The other one's dead then. Uh, yeah, orphanage, met Ryder, etc., etc. I continued to be by his side until he met an elf named Phoebe. Oh yeah, and in this point, she went by Kozui, and she was an elf, either an elf or a half elf. I don't remember. I don't remember. But met Phoebe. Very quickly fell in love. They spent a lot of time together. Ryder became jealous. Uh, Ryder saved from a river at some point, hence the visions of "I want to trust you." Uh, then Phoebe needed saving at one point from a river because a lot of people dying in rivers in these people's backstories. At which point, Kozui died. Saving Phoebe. Phoebe was saved. Uh, Kozui was not. Didn't end up saving herself, and either died or almost died, and was brought back by monks. She was brought back via a true resurrection. So we're gonna have a thing here of from this point of dying back, she was an elf. After dying, she was a water genasi, saved by the power of Ultron and whatnot. True resurrection, mind was wiped, had no memory of who she was before. At which point the monks started shaping her into an ultimate fighting machine. Became a devout follower of Ultron. I'm just going to go ahead and write Kunlun there to kind of encompass all of that, of the following and the things. And was given a task by her mentor to find more info on the gods and sent her out into the world, where at some point she found Xanthi. That looks like an H. I don't care. At some point found Xanthi, joined up with a party there, went into a cave, found some ropers, which were the big cone, stalagmite. Excuse me, why does that keep happening? Uh, Met up with party. The rest of the party died to a bunch of ropers who didn't, and then Starlight Brigade came in and saved her, and rest is history. But that's what I got from this. Oh, but I didn't write it down, and yeah, I don't need to go over the epilogue. I haven't done any of the epilogue stuff before this. And that leaves only one person left. Rob. Rob's the one that we know the least about. He's not very uh, prone to opening up about his past, and whenever he does it in a very waving off kind of way. He has like one or two sentences every time he does open up, and they're rarely helpful. But through bits and pieces of metagaming, which is the entirety of what I've been doing for the past 2 hours, I have managed to find what I think is a pretty decent chunk of Rob's backstory. Uh, Early life and stuff. not really said, not really relevant. However, the first bit that was relevant is Borak. Borak's name is mentioned once, exactly once, in passing, in session 5. Borak owns a shipping company. He also owns a gladiator arena. At some point, Rob encountered Borak and was not so kindly asked to be a fighter in the gladiator arena. And I can see you searching it up. Oh, my battery's running low. So I guess I'm gonna make this quick. Borak found found Rob, at which point he fought a lot, fought with Ryder. Ryder skewered him, made him a nice Rob kebab. See part 1 for that joke. Saved by something, gave the geometric pattern on his chest, and he was teleported outside of the arena. Saved by what? I'm not sure, but considering geometric pattern, I'm going to guess either Altran, because geometric may be discipline and order, or Seter, because, I don't know, technology, I guess. Ran around, just kind of trying to find his own place, and met a caravan on the way to Shadebrook, where he encountered the rest of the party. And that is basically all I have for him. But I managed to find some pretty good bits there. And I'm afraid that's going to be it because my laptop battery is going to die in about 30 seconds. And we are just coming up on a little over 37 minutes. So, yeah. All right. So that's about all I got for this. And let's go ahead and finish this up before this thing turns into a brick. Goodbye.